What is going on, guys? Welcome back. More Tony Stewart Sprint Car Racing. I didn't show in the first video my sponsor goal. I went with the most challenging one, and I also want to talk a little bit about the way you can upgrade these cars, because they do something interesting there. You can see you can sell parts in this game, which I thought was relatively interesting, kind of a staple of grassroots racing. We also have a lot of wear. So the first thing that we wore out was the tires. And if you look, the extra value tires that they had us on didn't seem to be the best match. To me, when you're starting out, it's important to get durability out of the two biggest components you're going to have, which to me is going to be, at least short term, the tires and the suspension. So I went with, kind of the value play in both of these examples and making sure that I get something that's going to be durable and also provide decent performance. Although I don't think initially I'm going to have much of a difference in how the car actually performs. At least it's not going to be something I have to continually repair, and it's going to be something that can grow with the car itself, which is two really important things. We go out here to Woodley, which is Alabama, 8 laps on a quarter-mile mid-bank track, so less banking than where we just came from. However, to me, this track looks an awful lot like Phoenix Raceway. Some of these tracks, there's also another one, reminds me a lot of Richmond. I don't know if they just scaled them down or not, but it seems strange that a lot of the tracks in this game, which are fictional, tend to have counterparts in real-life racing that they're just scaled to. So obviously, first thing I like to do is get the car about as loose as we can, and then we're going to go out and try to get this 12.75 goal in practice. Now, I mentioned in the first video, and I'm going to mention this in probably every video until we get some type of clarity, this track to me looks really, really wet. So when you go through and you look at the lighting, you can actually see right there, that track looks drenched. So I should be getting a little bit more traction now as far as going out there with a pack on the track, and you just don't see that. This is a game that really needs to be dependent, as they wreck behind me, on variable track texture and variable traction. And without that, it's going to struggle to be a game that offers a lot of replay value. Because unlike just about any form of racing, how damp a track is in dirt racing and how packed a track is in dirt racing really matters. It really factors into how the car is going to handle. So there you can see early on, we go ahead and set the time that we need. We end practice. And this is going to be an interesting race to the point that things don't go the way they are supposed to go. So it's kind of that borderline of, am I playing a game that's going to give me replay value because I'm challenged, or am I playing a game that continually kind of drags me down because I'm so uncompetitive? So when we go out to qualifying again, the lighting here, I like what they do, but oddly enough, they also do this in NASCAR Heat a lot too, where they just change the lighting so much where you almost initially get taken back, because I get way high on lap 1. Lap 1 is basically just a throwaway lap, and it's interesting because as I'm driving, I threw this lap away. In real racing, a throwaway lap, you screwed up and you move on to the next lap and try to salvage it. The interesting thing is, this is only 2 laps, and although I pretty much hit my marks every line on the second lap, I was so marginally faster than a lap that was just garbage. Little strange in terms of trying to turn consistent lap times. So a 19th place starting spot here, which again is going to be interesting because now I'm back in Heat 3, so I'm going to have to at least go through an extra race that I didn't have to before. Now this race gets pretty disastrous relatively quick because, again, for better or worse, there's some inconsistencies with this game and how the car actually finds traction. So I know that I'm running somewhere technically I'm not supposed to be going down this low, but it's just your mindset is trying to find grip. And I kind of get into somebody there, and then I get way up, way high, and then now I'm in a position where I literally have to pass one car and really can't. But again, as you're going through this game and you're trying to find, a line to run, you really don't have anything variable. And that's what causes a lot of the contact that I have is, I'm trying to run this like in a way I'm trying to run this like a stock car game, but I can't. But it's based on a stock car game that I know. So it's so, strange in your mind because your expectations just are continually not being met. So we go out here to where now, I have to do good because I need to at least try to get, some type of respectable starting point here. I mean, my goal is to finish 20th in these races. So I will say, if nothing else, it does a good job at showing the stress of heat racing. So I'm pretty easily able to work through here. But again, going back to what we talked about before, I can really fly through the turns, but down the straightaways, they just have horsepower and can pull away. And there has to be a better way. I shouldn't be able to catch somebody that much, regardless of what my line was. I shouldn't be able to catch somebody that much in a turn and then lose all that ground going down the straightaways because they just have a faster car. I mean, I literally get up almost to him, and then just down the straightaway, I just don't have the speed. I get it. But make the car slower all the way around. That's something that really prevented me from enjoying NASCAR heat as much. You go to tracks and, you're just dogged down the straightaway, and then in the turns, because you can hold it wide open, you can run with everyone. And it doesn't work that way. Low horsepower should be low horsepower from entry to apex to exit. And in these games, a lot of times it's not. So a 19th place starting position. I do just want to point out for those that didn't watch the first video how annoying the track map is when the cars fan out and just every yellow dot goes all over the place, and how unnecessary it is to have a track map on a track so small. And there's a lot of contact in this race, but again, like I said, a lot of that is just because, to be fair, I'm getting more traction than I expect. I'm going down in the turn, I'm expecting to get just a little bit of yaw where I can turn out, and I try to drift through this turn a little better because that's how I want to carry my speed. And at least here, I kind of at least get into a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit more contact. But, with sprint cars, you kind of want that slide. You want that, the slide job. Really, that's where the term comes from, is in sprint cars. And you see here, I'm starting to get around to doing it with the tires and the suspension. There's pretty much identical to what you want to do, minus probably that much contact. But, you can see even there, I start to do it, and the car all of a sudden just hooks up, and I literally just drive straight through the berm of the infield. Meanwhile here, I had that same slide, but look at how much faster I am than this car. For some reason, just down the straightaway, he could pass me. It's just something that they have to work on in terms of making a car consistently slower so the game can be more enjoyable. So, obviously, you come out here, and I'm just trying to get a top 20, but I'm easily able to run in the top 12. I really wanted to get a top 10, but unfortunately lap cars just kind of prevent that from happening. And that kind of goes back to where we talked about before with this track map. It's so unusable because it's just dots. It's hard for me to know initially when I'm getting past here for 11th if that car right there, the green car, was a position, and it turned out not to be. So it's kind of one thing, I don't know, they have to throw the number up in front of you. But, a 12th place finish there, which I'm satisfied with given the way qualifying in the first heat was a disaster. I didn't show in the first one, but they do have kind of that fan value. You're the only car here on the track. That's really weird. But the end result is they show you the money that you've acquired from this race, and you get to obviously take that on to your next event. With that said, appreciate you guys checking this out, and I will be back in the week with more commentary.